our next conversation, we're going to be talking about fashion and specifically the life cycle of our products. But before I introduce our panel, let's have a look at this.
I have this one favorite walk. When I need to think about stuff, it's my place. It's in the forest. Hardly anyone seems to come here, but I love it. It's so old. In fact, it's ancient. This wood, this forest looked the same when my parents were kids, when their parents were kids, and way before that. The trees standing here and the whole world is going on around them. These ancient forests fill me with awe every day. Sounds cliche, but think about what a gift the Amazon is to the planet. What history, communities, and environmental good those trees hold. But it only takes a minute to cut down a tree that's been living there for decades, centuries even.
I love that. These ancient forests fill me with awe every day. I think it's such a beautiful line. It totally smashes it. But what's extraordinary is that to think that these ancient forests are still being destroyed to create material like viscose. The third most important material that's used in the textile industry. But the good news is major brands like PUMA are changing this by only using sustainably sourced wood pulp. And if they can change the cycle, more brands will follow. So up next in our next panel, we're going to talk about the life cycle of products in the fashion industry. And we've got another wonderful, intelligent, super brainy, and extraordinarily good-looking panel to come up. So please give a warm welcome to Nadine Pereira, founder of Flock Together and one of our next-gen thinkers. Come up, bruv. Stefan Seidel, head of corporate sustainability at PUMA. Kiersey Terho, key accountant director at Infinited Fiber. Andreas Gertler, senior manager of global business development at Lenzing. And Nicole Rycroft, founder and executive director with NGO Canopy. This is quite a techie sort of subject. There's a lot of technical stuff that we're going to get into this, but I think it's important. It's something that we've been trying to get across for this whole day, that it's about knowledge. It's about power. I'm learning stuff. There's so much in the fashion industry I don't know about, so I'm learning loads and loads from you. I'm going to start off with you, Nicole.
Sure.
At Canopy. First of all, congratulations on everything you're doing at Canopy. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Check out the website. What they do is incredible. But break it down for us. You know, what's the real challenge we're facing here? And also, if you can at some point, explain to us what viscose is.
Sure. Okay, so maybe I'll cover that to start off with. So as the professional tree hugger on this stage, as opposed to Naomi, who is...
Cheer for the tree huggers.
That's
Come
right.
on.
Yes. Let's give it up for the tree huggers.
The only one.
Yeah. So viscose is that soft, silky fabric that's next to your skin. You find it in your T-shirts, your jeans, your suit lining, jackets. Lingerie. You can all check your next-door neighbor's labels at the break and see whether there's...
That's not going to get you in trouble, is it?
Viscose, rayon, or modal. Might get the person that they're checking in trouble. But there's 200 million trees that disappear into viscose every year. It's slated to double within the next decade. And as such, is quite an aggressive growing threat to forest ecosystems around the world. And we all in this room are probably aware that deforestation and forest degradation are major drivers behind the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. And so supply chains in themselves aren't necessarily the sexiest of topics when we first think of it, But there's so much of the environmental and climate footprint of the apparel that we choose and wear every day is wrapped up in the supply chain choices, the sourcing of the material choices. And so that's why redesigning supply chains is so critically important when it comes to climate action and addressing biodiversity. And so the work that we've been doing at Canopy over the last number of years has been working with PUMA and close to 500 other brands to eliminate sourcing from ancient and endangered forests, these critical carbon and biodiversity forest ecosystems, to just remove that from being sourced for viscose production and for paper packaging, the boxes that clothing gets shipped in, and to have it be replaced by fundamentally lower carbon alternative sources. So we have a tool called Hot Button. It assesses the leading viscose producers, the top 30 viscose producers globally, and they account for 99% of global production. And then we assign a shirt.
Does it create a league table, the Hot Button? Or
Sorry?
Does it create a sort of like league table or for you to
Yeah, a
understand?
leaders table. It kind of looks across like 28 different criteria. It's kind of geeky in its origin, but we try and actually, make it simple and easy to follow. And eventually, producers either get a green shirt, which is what brands like PUMA and others are sourcing from, or they have red in their shirt. Red means that there's risk, and green shirt means that there's low risk of sourcing from ancient and endangered forests.
And this is for the manufacturers, is it?
This is for viscose producers like Lenzing, who we have here, and kind of some of their peers within the manufacturing chain. And it makes it easy then for brands to have a one-stop shop that they can go to that's verified by an independent NGO of, here are the producers that are actually doing well, that are independently audited as not sourcing from these critical forest ecosystems and are actually really investing in these innovative, game-changing next-generation solutions that we need to have scale.
Brilliant, brilliant. No, it's a really fascinating sort of innovation that's coming into the industry and absolutely necessary. Thank you, Nicole. My next question is for you, Nadine. Now, from your work, what have you discovered via work that you wish more people or consumers knew about in regard to the impact our clothing choices are having on the real world or the environment?
First of all, what a great panel to be a part of. Don't know what I'm doing on this panel.
Nah, you're worthy of being here.
But no, truthfully, what I've noticed in my work is we do a lot of work at Flock Together. So for those that don't know, Flock Together is a bird-watching club for people of color. Started in London, became absolutely massive, bigger than me or my co-founder could ever think of. And we've been fortunate enough to forge a beautiful community. Some of us are in the community as well, have attended the walks already. And we do a lot of work with brands as well. And one of the things, as far as the impacts that brands have on the environment and the production of fashion has on the environment, I think a lot of people know. And the things that people don't know is unfortunately hidden in a lot of jargon, And I find lots of parallels in the wildlife space. I have a big interest in wildlife, and I'm trawling through papers, published papers and scientific documents, trying to forge out information. And I have an interest in this stuff, and it's still kind of hard for me to get through. It's boring. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's for people in this panel that I've spoken today, it's fantastic that we have this information, but that level needs to be brought down. We need to be putting it into for a man like me to understand. You know what I'm saying? I need to be able to understand it. And at that moment, it's just not happening. So I just think, basically, that is what needs to change. In order for the impacts of the environment to be shared better, it's on the brands to communicate that message better to people on a level that I'm from.
Yeah, language is so important, I think. It's that universal tool that's going to bring more people in. And it can get lost in jargon. It was mentioned in one of the earlier panels. I think, Izzy, you were talking about it. And I think it's about finding a middle ground. Finding a middle ground, yes, I think the brands need to do work to de-jargonize things, but I also feel we have to do work as well. You know, we have to, because if we don't, then we don't force the brands to change.
And you know what? It's good. It's a very good point that you make, yeah? And Flock Together does that work. We get our community who have a very minimal interest in wildlife and the environment, let's say, and we get them out into nature. Base level interaction.
Yeah.
Barrier to entry is so low. We've done that. We've got it here. And what we need from the brands is, like, we've had a lot of talk today about product, which is great, yeah? But product is never going to be a net zero. Or it's at best going to be a net zero. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like brands need to extend their offering. We have communities on the grassroots level now engaged. What else can you offer other than product? Can you offer these grassroots organizations support to achieve their goals? Someone like organization like Flock Together, environmentalism, yes, we are a birdwatching group, but environmentalism is top of our list. Back us with that. We have big ambitions to do great work and bring our community's creativity to this fight. Back us. You know what I'm saying? Back us.
Who knew bird watchers could be so militant?
Yeah.
Militant!
Yeah.
Nice. No, great words, Nadine. I'm just going to move to you, Kirsty, at Infinited Fibre. Tell us about how you're innovating to reduce environmental resources and impact.
We are talking a lot about trees here, but what we are using as a feedstock is post-consumer textile waste. That is a terrible word. What that means is your old clothes. So we are taking something that you have been wearing and bringing a new life to that. 100% post-consumer textile waste-based new fiber. And that fiber can be then used in kind of like creating a new garment that is born from the old clothes. And that is our kind of like innovation base. And what that really brings to the whole concept itself is that when you make waste your business, then that is when the waste comes interesting, and that is when we make an impact. And if we think about kind of like all the influencers that are talking a lot about how to do this, how we want to kind of like what we do, for example, for our clothes, there is a solution, but solutions are still very little. It needs to be scaled up, and scale is business. Business is critical to make an impact. And I think that that is what we are bringing to the table.
It's interesting. How does the everyday consumer, how do they get involved with what you're doing? Do I just send my second-hand clothes to you, send my trousers to you, and you send them back as a dress, or no?
Yeah, in the future you do. So at the moment in Finland, we are based in Finland, and what we do there, we have a collection system that is collecting from households all the old clothes. And that is going to the sorting center, where we are picking up the material that fits for our process. And that material is then turned to the new fibers and then used to new apparel. And that is how it's going to be working in the future.
So it just means we will never need to get raw materials and take stuff out of our planet. We can just keep recycling what we have.
Yeah, we are saying that we make textile industry lose its virginity. And what that means is that we don't really need to source any virgin materials anymore. So that is our goal.
I like the way you said that. You know, you said it with intention. But yeah, it's so important, because the big problem we have in all industries is constantly extracting from our planet. Constantly. And we have to lose that mentality where we stop taking and we give back and we recycle. It's a completely different mentality, but it's a mentality that's going to save us, you know. So let's go on to Andreas. Both you and Infinited Fibre have innovative alternatives for cotton, or part recycled cotton. Why is this such a big deal for the industry?
Well, in Lenzing, we have a very long history in producing man-made cellulosic fibers. So already 80 years ago, we came up with the viscose fiber. Then 10 years later, we came up, or 20 years later, we came up with a modified viscose, the so-called modal fiber with a higher wet modulus and a better wet stability. And 30 years ago, we came up with the tensile lyocell fiber, which is completely different to other man-made cellulosic fibers because you need less water. It's a physical production process where a solvent, which is non-toxic, and water and cellulose will be brought into solution in order to produce this tensile fiber. The name tensile comes, by the way, from tenacity cellulose, which implies that it is the most strongest cellulosic fiber. I already said that we have a very long history in producing man-made cellulosic fibers. So also with regard to viscose and our modal branded fibers, here we also have the highest rate in recovery of auxiliary chemistry that makes us so sustainable. So all in all, we are proud to be the most sustainable man-made cellulosic fiber producer. And what is also important, and what I also would like to tell to the audience, is that with our biorefinery concept, we are using trees or trees from forests, from natural forestry. So these are trees which cannot be used for the furniture industry. That means from the trees, we extract 40% of the cellulose for producing the fibers. 50% is energy, which we use in order to drive our engines. And the other 10% are byproducts of high quality, like, for example, xylitol, which is a wood sugar which you find in lifesavers or chewing gums. Then acetic acid, which is used for the food industry, and furfural, which is a chemistry which is used as a diluter for the crude oil industry. So we can say also here we bring a benefit to the industry. So this Lenzing site is best practice because we also take care of the environment with using the energy from the residual energy from the incineration of the wood in order to drive our engines, as I mentioned already, and that makes us also carbon zero. And we have not talked about the water yet. Since our factory is located in a vocational area, halfway between Salzburg and Linz, where the factory will be supplied with crystal clear water from the lake, and the water leaves the company, passes through to the company, leaves the company as clean as it goes in. And moreover, also we take care about the fishes in the water. There are 15 different species of fishes in the water, which leave also the company safe.
What's fascinating is the attention to detail. It feels like on every stage you are looking at the different aspects of the impacts that the company is having on the environment and how you can mitigate that and how you can change that. You know, and I think that's what we need as consumers to take note of. Look for companies that are doing that. Understand what the companies where we're buying our products are from, what they're doing, what impacts they're having on our society. Because it's a two-way street. You know, if we're not checking out what they're doing, policing what they're doing, deciding who we're buying, buy what they're doing, then the poor ways of manufacturing will continue. So I think it's so important that we continue to do that. But no, fascinating, and congratulations. Yeah, go for it. Oh, you're going to start some trouble now.
No, I'm not going to start trouble, but I'm here as the Gen Z voice.
No,
get me?
Go for it.
So I'm going to be the voice, yeah?
Go for it.
Ain't no Gen Z interested in that. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, no disrespect to anyone on this panel, you lot are doing valuable work, but this whole thing is about engaging the next generation. All of those words there ain't engaging the next generation. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like, look, I'm going to reiterate the point again. The grassroots organizations that have forged this community and can convey messages to said community need to be the ones that are being engaged by these brands at the grassroots level. So that all of that information, we can take it and put it into a language our people understand. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street,
Yeah.
but the first move has to come from the brand.
Yeah.
Has to.
Well, it feels like you've put out a call there.
Yeah.
You've put out a call there, Nadeem, to say, come to flock together. Yes. and
But there are many organizations.
But it starts, you know, and that's what you want, and you want that conversation. I get it. I get it, because we want to get out of the technical language. And the way this climate crisis began is scientists. And it was unfortunate because scientists, yes, they have great intentions, but often it's hidden in language. And we need that to be changed.
Absolutely.
So it's a fantastic point. Kirsty, you was...
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Nadeem. It needs to come from there, because I'm the business-minded. So the business comes from there because you're creating the demand. And demand is something that is really making this movement go to the places. And I think that is most important, that people has a loud voice.
Absolutely.
Because that is making the change.
Absolutely. And as we all know, time is of the essence, and we actually are in a culture where it's not just Flock Together. There are many other organizations of marginalized people, undersupported people that are now interested in nature. Now is the time to engage them.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And if we miss that window, we've missed a very, very good opportunity to save this planet, which is what we all want, by the way. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, switch on and trust the people that have built the communities to convey messages, you know, hand over that power, because by giving power, you actually get more back.
It's such an important point. You know, I think sometimes when I travel around the world, one of the frustrations I have is we in the global West, the richer nations, who have brought us to this point, are the ones who are trying to tell the developing nations who are struggling, who have had to deal with this for decades, what to do. You know, they're struggling, and not only are they struggling, they're having to listen to us. Yeah. You know, and I think you're talking about it on a community level, but it's the same thing. It echoes on a global level, and that communication, what that creates is trust, and that's the biggest thing we need, is trust. If they're not talking to you, then how can you trust them?
Absolutely.
And how can we move forward? Right? Just on a technical term, we have 90 months. I already said that. 90 months to finish, to sort this out. 90 months. Otherwise, we move into a bad place, unpredictable weather, cataclysmic climate change. We have to start doing these things. So thank you, Nadeem, for that. Stefan.
Can I put up the science again? You know, I'm listening and hearing what you're saying, and one of the reasons we're doing this event is exactly to hear, you know, from you and other young voices how we can better reach people. Nevertheless, I think, you know, we have a crisis, and you name it, it's such a big crisis. We have this whole anxiety, it's happening. You know, we have 40 degrees in London, we have flooding in Pakistan. We actually know what needs to be done. We haven't talked a lot about energy. I mean, we had small bits and pieces here and there. So first, we need to transition to renewable energy. That's the
transition to which energy?
Renewable energy.
Okay, yeah.
So we have to get out of coal, we have to get out of oil. So that's what we're doing. We as a fashion industry are, you know, on the way, and we have created industry organizations like the Fashion Charter for Climate Action. We'll hear from Lindita later on, you know, on the next panel from UN Climate about that initiative. But we need to get out of conventional energy. We need to get into renewable energy, because that's like half of the CO2 emissions that our energy that our industry creates are related to energy. Yeah. And so that's number one. We're doing that from a PUMA side as good as we can. You know, we've moved to 100% renewable electricity. You know, we buy renewable energy tariffs where we can, renewable energy attribute certificates where it's not possible. And we work with our suppliers. For example, you know, our friend Mohammed here from Bangladesh, who employs 43,000 people, to transition their
manufacturing also to renewable energy. Put up solar PVs. We're talking on a big scale, within the industry. We're trying to talk to the policymakers in countries like Bangladesh to set up, renewable energy sources there, so that our suppliers actually can tap into that renewable energy. So that's number one. And then number two, we talk about materials. So deforestation, it's a total no-go. Yeah? If we want to avoid the catastrophic effects of climate change, which are already starting, of course we have to make sure there's zero deforestation. Therefore, as a brand, when we talk materials, we set 100% targets. So we set 100% more sustainable viscose, 100% viscose from green-rated, hot button suppliers.
Stefan, sorry to interrupt, but all of that is great, but following on from what Nadim's saying here, how do we bring along people like Nadim? How do we bring along Gen Zs? How do we take them on this journey together?
I don't think there's one single answer. Of course, we can collaborate. We are collaborating with many organizations. We are collaborating with NGOs. We're doing this event today. We're reaching out. We can also use our assets. We are, as a brand, as a fashion industry, we can change people's perception. That's what the fashion industry is about. Also, sports. I mean, if our superstars are wearing something, then other people want to wear the same thing. So we can use the power, of those people, actually to also use it for the good cause, use it to educate people, to inspire. I'm not a fan of the word educate. To inspire people, actually, to join that, climate journey.
No, I can see, Nicole, you want to
I think agency, it was one of the things that came up with Jack and Naomi's conversation with you, Adi. And I think that's really important, right? Because it's easy to feel as though it's not possible to actually kind of engage or to make a contribution. But having agency, taking that agency, like sustainability is often, it's often just akin to sort of teenage sex. Right? Everybody says they're doing it. Very few actually are. Even less are actually doing it well. And so all of us, at a very minimum, can actually engage, find out the brands that are actually doing a good job, really doing a good job, engage with them, support them to continue to take leadership, make sure that we're not just trading in one environmental disaster for another. By sort of having access to the information. We need to be moving away from all extractive linear supply chains, whether it's forest-based fiber, because keeping forests standing is 30% of the climate solution. So we need to use at least 50% less of them in the boxes and the t-shirts that we're making by 2030. That means that we need technologies like Infinited to be wildly successful and to scale, that use recycled textiles or other innovators that are using agricultural residues or microbial cellulose from food waste. There's a myriad of solutions that are out there that need to be scaled. And so brands are setting the market appetite and the pull-through. We need investors to engage. We need a kind of the microcosm of the brightest, smartest scientists, as well as communicators, as well as investors, to actually really pull these through to scale on the timelines that we need. And that art of the possible, I think, that mindset in itself is something that's really critical for us all to keep.
Everyone has got to be involved. Everyone's got to be a part of it. I feel really childish, though, because you said so much good stuff, but all that keeps coming out in my brain is you say, that I heard was have good sex and save the planet. That's... But listen, we're going to have some more questions or answers from you guys, but I really want to throw out to people in the audience and also people at home. We'll start off with a question from online, and it says, how can I trust that there is a real difference between good viscose and bad viscose? Nicole, it seems like it falls upon you.
Yeah, sure. I would say that at the moment where we're at is we're in a transition point. So basically, green shirt supply of viscose is the viscose that's not coming from the most critical forest ecosystems in the world. Now that's the minimum bar that we're wanting to clear. Canopy is also working with another NGO, ZDHC, that's working on the clean chemistry side of things. But ultimately, where we want to be going with man-made cellulosic textiles or viscose and rayon is to have a significant, in fact, the vast majority of the fiber that's being drawn on not be wood fiber, so that we can actually conserve forests at the scale that we need to for planetary health, but rather that we're drawing on these other feedstock potentials that are currently seen as waste. So agricultural residues, recycled textiles, or food waste.
But that seems more like a signal or information for companies and brands. What about us as everyday people?
So, but these next-gen solutions are here today. So the very first textile-to-textile pulp mill that's feeding into viscose starts operation in Sweden in like a month. So as individual kind of global citizens, I like to think of us rather than as consumers necessarily. As global citizens, when we go into a store, when we're looking to buy a product, like make sure you're supporting brands that are taking leadership, like PUMA and others, on these issues, and look for the products that actually have next-gen textile kind of feedstock as part of it, be it recycled cotton or, like recycled viscose. Like, look for that on the label.
Look for it on the label.
Yeah.
Andreas, I saw you had your hand up there.
Yeah, I want to add here in that context that our fibers can also identify it, so at the fabric level as well as at the garment level, to make sure that they have been produced under most sustainable conditions.
Okay, thank you. Want to get through some more questions as well. Anybody here have a question for our panel? We have a hand up from this young man in a white t-shirt.
Hey, Nadeem, is it all good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I actually had a question for Nadeem. I know through your work, Flock Together, since it's been founded, has...
You have to speak up, bro. I can't hear you.
Sorry. I know through your work, Flock Together has been approached by loads of brands who want to work with you and support in different ways. And I know a lot of brands think that supporting is just sending a bunch of product to be posted on social media or whatever tagged. But I was wondering, what have the brands that have done it best done, and what would you look for in any brand approaching you to support a grassroots level?
Yeah, so as far as the brands that support Flock Together, just check us out on Instagram and you see, I'm not going to do Puma dirty, bigging up their brands. But check us out on Instagram and you'll see the work that's been done. One of the main things we say is we're not any brand's tick box exercise. You get me? Like, if you want that, there's many other groups that might be happy to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not. What we look for is long-term change for the benefit of our community and the natural world, which in effect is what brands want as well. And the way we do that is plain and simple, man. Cut the check. You get me? Cut the check, say less. We know what we're doing. We have big ideas that we want to work for us. And of course, a knock-on effect is that works for you guys as well. So yeah, I would say just long-term investment and understanding that we have long-term goals that we want to hit, not just feature in a campaign to tick a box for your diversity for the annual, for the year. You know what I'm saying?
Good answer, good answer. Question from online, and thank you for the question, by the way. Do you think positive change is happening fast enough in the industry? Who would like to take that? Stefan, I see you got your hand up.
As it says, Stefan, so I'll take it.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, there you go.
No, it's not. It's not fast enough. So that's why we work together, why we need to work together. So that's also so critical, and I think we try to bring this across the whole afternoon, that we need to work together. We need to work together with our peers. We need to work together with our suppliers. We need to work together with civil society, NGOs, because we really need to accelerate the speed of the transition. And you have examples here. You have examples like Lenzing, who's supplying viscose to PUMA. You have examples like Nicole and Canopy, who helped us draft our biodiversity and forestry policy. We have not partnered yet, but it can happen. But that's so important because we are not fast enough. Yeah, we're not fast enough. we've started the journey. There's a lot of good, innovative approaches out there, but A, we're not fast enough, and B, we need to scale. So those innovative solutions, they are small at the moment, but we need scale. This is what I was trying to explain, that we need those 100% targets. We need 100% more sustainable cotton. We need 100% more sustainable polyester. We need 100% viscose from those green-rated suppliers. 50%, 30%, 70%, it's not good enough. We need 100%, and it's also not good enough if we do it as PUMA. No, the industry needs to transition, and we've made some commitments. Last year at the COP, we were there together. Björn was there as well. We made some commitment as an industry to actually move exactly in this direction. 100% low-carbon materials, 100% renewable energy, phasing out coal-fired boilers from our Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. This is where we need to go, and we need to go there fast.
Can I quickly?
Yeah.
So one quick example of how fast the change can happen is Namibia. Yeah. So in the early 90s, the state of wildlife and biodiversity in Namibia was bad. It was really, really, really in a poor state. A lot of threatened species. The government was the first African government to make the ecosystem and the environment and wildlife a part of their constitution. It was compulsory. And what they did was they handed over the power to local communities, and it became the fastest growing biodiverse state in Africa. And it is now actually the strongest population of wild cheetahs in the world. That's a span of 30 years. So that's just one example of how quickly things can change if the right moves are made.
Yeah, it's all about understanding your environment and understanding the importance in your country and understanding what local communities can do.
Absolutely.
I'm going to do one more quick question. I know, Kirsi, you wanted to answer that, but I just want to get one more quick question. How can you reach out to young people so they understand more about materials and their impact? Does anyone on the panel want to answer that one?
Work with Flock Together.
Well,
I can take that.
Yes.
I would say that reaching out young people, that is the job that brands need to do. That is their task. Brands are looking for solutions very heavily at the moment, but communicating about it, that's their key task in the future. And that is how they can reach the audience, and they can reach the consumer, and that is what is making the impact. We talk about that everything is in scale. That is the most important part. To be as an innovator in this space and be kind of like a techie persons in here, I think that we need the brand support on that sentence as well. They need to be ones that are making the demand. They need to be the ones that are making the impact and really telling about us. There is lots and lots of new great innovations that nobody knows about. So brands has that task.
Yeah, no, very, very, very good point. Great place to finish on. But actually, I just wanted to ask one more question before we finish. Nadine, what's your favorite bird?
It's the crow, believe it or not.
A crow? Out of all them beautiful birds, why the crow?
It's so smart. It's black as well, that helps. But it's also probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest animal in the world.
Super playful, right?
Super playful.
Yeah.
They have problem-solving ability of a 5-year-old human child. And I just think they're dope, man. All the birds people tend to hate are the ones I love. Do you get me? So.
But you never thought you'd learn that today. Crows, big up to the crows. Listen, big up to our panel. I think you guys are fantastic. Nadine, Stefan, Nicole, Kirsi, and Andrea.